90% mental. Jessica Yellen, ABC News, Washington.
Yeah, Jessica's right. At the World Series, the president threw out the pitch. It was good, but I must tell you, the record shows that when George W. Bush, as president of the United States, threw out his first pitch for a ball game, it was a bouncer. So there. Let's see how he does tonight. Joining us now is Evan Weiner, who's a commentator on the business of sports. Evan, welcome.
Hi, Sam. How you doing?
Well, fine. I commented that Bob Short moved the old Washington Senators, which was the second Senators. Calvin Griffin had moved them before that, in 1971 because he thought he couldn't make any money in this town. So what's changed so that this new team, you think, can make money if you do?
Well, a lot has changed. First, you have a metro in Washington, so people could actually get to the game. But also, the whole packaging of baseball has changed. There's cable TV markets now. There weren't any cable TV stations carrying baseball games in 1971, and if they were, they weren't paying team owners money. The national TV contract is a lot more than it was in 1971. Marketing is totally different than in 1971. Baseball sells its logos. In fact, Peter Ueberroth about 15 years ago told me the most important aspect of a baseball team was to protect its logo, not its players. So there's a lot of money coming in from logos, from TV, from luxury boxes, from club seats. When the Senators left in 1971, there were no club seats and there were no luxury boxes. In Washington's case, the metro is going to make a tremendous difference.
Okay, you've laid out some of the reasons why there's a big difference, and I agree with you. But let's look at the overall question of whether this opening day, of course, will produce tens of thousands of people at RFK. Over the next few months or years, do you think it'll fall off? Baseball has had a tough time nationally in the last couple of decades.
Well, the novelty wears off unless you have a winning team. If you have a winning team, people are going to come to see you. They will have a new ballpark eventually, maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years, it may be 4 years, and that will bring people in. But if you look in Philadelphia, they're going into a third season in that park, and they're going to get less than 5,000 people per game than they did when they opened the park. You better win. That's the bottom line. If you're not going to win, people are not going to go see you play. That was partially part of the problem with the old Washington Senators.
Evan, Jeff Morrell here in Washington.
Hi,
you
Jeff.
alluded to the issue of the TV revenue. Much has been made, as you well know, about the TV deal that Peter Angelos, the owner of the Baltimore Orioles, has cut with Major League Baseball and the future owner of the Nationals. And a lot of people say it is very skewed towards Angelos and the Orioles. There are others, including the mayor of Washington, who wrote an editorial today in the Washington Post saying, not so fast. Actually, the Nationals may have got the best end of this deal. What's your take on it?
Well, it's going to be hard to figure out until we see what Comcast does. Comcast is the cable TV company that's most prominent in the mid-Atlantic states, and they're going to have to cut a deal with Brian Roberts over at Comcast to see whether he wants the Nationals or not. You got to remember the Orioles are partners with Comcast right now, and Roberts is the most important guy in terms of local cable TV in sports. There's no deal with Comcast right now. That has to evolve. You're going to have to get an owner into Washington and work out a deal with Angelos. Angelos claims all the territory in Baltimore and south to Washington, and he's going to lose a ton of money if baseball doesn't allow Baltimore to put its games into Northern Virginia and D.C. It's still early. It's still very early to see what happens in 2008 when the Orioles contract with Comcast is done and the Orioles and Nationals have to coexist under a baseball network. As of right now, there are games in Washington, but Washington's going to need about $30 million to compete. You got to remember, the Yankees get more than $50 million a year that could go into player payroll. The Mets are starting a network next season. The White Sox and the Cubs are sharing in the network. The Houston Astros are starting a network. That's where the money is. Sure, there's money in the stands with revenues coming from club seats and luxury boxes, but the real revenue in baseball and the real revenue divide is with TV. That's why Pittsburgh is failing. That's why the Yankees compete every year. Pittsburgh doesn't get that TV money. If Washington,
but Evan, as I understand the TV deal, 90% of the regional sports network will be owned by Angelos, 10% for the Nationals owners. which at first glance looks like a bad deal for them. But when you take into account that there's no guarantee this thing will succeed, and therefore the Nationals have no risk involved, in addition, they've cut a deal, according to this contract, that they get a guaranteed $21 million from Major League Baseball, which puts them in very good stead among their competitors. It looks as though, when you take a closer look at this thing, as though the Nationals are going to be in good shape TV-wise, at least economically at first.
Well, maybe at first, but they're going to have to compete with the New York Yankees, who own the YES Network, the New York Mets, who are going to own their network, the Boston Red Sox, who own the NESN Network, Houston Astros, the Chicago Cubs, and the White Sox, and those are cash cows. When you own your own network, that's a cash cow. If Washington is only getting $21 million a year, that's only the middle of the pack. And middle of the pack doesn't mean you're going to compete every year. You need that TV money.
Evan Weiner, thank you very much for joining today and talking about the Washington Nationals on opening day.
Thank you, Sam.
Evan Weiner of the Business of Sports is what he does, a national commentator. Well, Jeff, you know, the old joke about the old Washington Senators was first in war, first in peace, last in the American League. The new Washington Nationals, who've been playing on the road, of course, until tonight, are actually tied for first in the National League East. But do you think that Frank Robinson, for all of his managerial skills, can take this bunch of players who in Montreal did not distinguish themselves and turn them into a winning ball game club in one season?
Well, you know, it's remarkable that they're even, we're sitting here coming into opening day, you're right, tied for first place in the NL East with a bunch of no-names. These are guys who really, even among baseball fans, you're hard-pressed to recognize any of the names, but they clearly have some bats in that lineup, Sam, and they're producing a lot of runs. The big question as we progress into the season, as it always is for every team year in and year out, is there going to be pitching that can take them down the stretch? But it's going to be a lot of fun to watch them in the meantime, and it's going to be a lot of fun, Sam, to see if we can stump you with some brand new presidential sports trivia coming up.
You won't see them coming.
We're going to give this family the surprise wake-up call of a lifetime.
But you will hear them arrive.
Good morning, Walford family! You remember applying for a stream makeover? Yes. We're here to give it to you.
Love your hearts. You bring hope. You bring joy. You bring it in a time that we need it.
Meet the team. Tracy.
Words can't describe what the feeling's like to say, here we are.
Preston.
If that's not impressive, I don't know what is.
Constance.
This is the biggest kind of thing we've ever done.
Michael.
It's an awesome thing to be involved in.
Paul.
See the reaction. I would do this again tomorrow.
And the man who ties them all together.
We made some dreams happen. I love this job.
For them, the day begins with one deserving family and ends with making dreams come true one home at a time. That's why we call them our Dream Team. See them in action on Extreme Makeover Home Edition every Sunday at 8/7 Central, only on ABC. Tuesday comedies start at 8/7 Central. Only on ABC.
When their plane went down, they were complete strangers. Now they need to trust each other just to survive.
I've looked into the eye of this island, and what I saw was beautiful.
Come on out there!
Stay away from me.
Did you see that?
Every Wednesday at 8/7 Central, only on ABC.
Now it's time for America's new favorite pastime, and you know it all, of course, is Stump Sam. And, you know, for decades, Sam has been stumping presidents and world leaders, hounding them. But today, we get to turn the tables on Sam, and you get a chance to see if you can hound and stump Sam with your knowledge of presidential sports trivia. Now, Sam, if they do stump you, as you well know, they get to win a fabulous prize. I don't have one here to show off, but I think you know what it is. It's one of those orange ABC News Now baseball caps. Apropos today, no doubt.
Well, Jeff, I got to tell you, I'm going to be 0 for 3 today. What I know about sports, you can put in a thimble and still have, room left over. But go ahead, I'm game.
All right, all right. Now, keep in mind, before we go on here, that if you want to submit questions, we encourage you to do so at abcnewsnow.com for future Stump Sam presentations. Here we go, Sam. We're going to fire away with the first pitch. What sport did Gerald Ford excel in? He was given offers. Well,
that's easy. That's football. And Lyndon Johnson once complained. Whoops. Lyndon Johnson once complained when Gerald Ford was still in the House and Johnson was president that Gerald Ford had played football too often without his helmet on. And that's wrong. Ford is a pretty smart guy,
But might that have explained all the stumbles down the steps and so forth?
Well, isn't that interesting? Gerald Ford is probably the most athletic from the standpoint of his background of all the presidents of the United States we have ever had. Yes, he stumbled going down the stairs. He hit his head, and once playing golf, he shanked the ball and struck a spectator. And so he got this reputation as being, nimble fingers. But in fact, it's just not true. Yet the camera does lie sometimes, right?
All right, now, Sam, his predecessor, Richard Nixon, was known as an avid bowler. However, the White House bowling alley was not installed during his term. Which 20th century president was in office when the bowling alley was added to the White House?
Oh, that's a great question. I wish I knew the answer. I suppose it might have been Dwight Eisenhower.
No.
No, it might not have been.
We'll let the animation play, but it was Harry S. Truman was the one who had the bowling alley.
I thought when you were going down the road with Richard M. Nixon, you were going to say that he was an avid this, that, and the other, but what was the sort of sport that he was known for? I was playing poker. Okay. He actually won a lot of money playing poker, and he was in World War II in the Navy, but afterward he financed his first congressional campaign to some extent with his poker winnings.
That may be stretching it, though, Sam, to call poker a sport, but we'll let it pass.
Well, tell that to the world champion. Where is Amarillo Slim when we need him? Go ahead.
All right, third and final question here. This was emailed from one of our viewers in Colorado. While he was enjoying golf, named Dwight Eisenhower's second favorite pastime when visiting Colorado as president. His second favorite pastime after golf.
Was it trout fishing?
Right on.
Yeah. Hey, I'm actually 2 for 3. That's not bad. My favorite sports story, I thought you were going to ask me about George W. Bush, because he put $600,000 into the Arlington team, used to be the Washington team, and he cashed out for $19.5 million. And I once asked him, "Sir, how'd you do that?" He said, "Sam, I grabbed hold of the pants leg of opportunity and I hung on." Wow. Okay,
should all be so
time's
lucky.
up. I'm Sam Donaldson, Gagaland, Washington.
I'm Jeff Morrell, also in Gagaland. Stay tuned for Politics Live at the same time, same place tomorrow.